The last bus had vanished exactly 14 minutes before Maya reached the stop, its tail lights receding like a taunt. Her shoe strap was broken, her backpack heavy with textbooks she couldn't replace, and the November wind, sharp as a switchblade, sliced through her thin sweater. The campus district was a ghost town after midnight, all coffee shops dark, all doors locked. Her roommate, an unpaid rent fight still simmering between them, wouldn't answer. With $63 to her name and mounting medical bills, walking 4 hours through notorious neighborhoods was a gamble Maya couldn't afford. Then, a dark miracle. The abandoned warehouse. Squatting between two derelict factories, its loading dock door hung ajar, beckoning. She'd passed it 100 times on the bus. Now she ducked inside, just until dawn. The air inside reeked of rust and forgotten rain. Moonlight spilled through high, fractured windows, painting silver squares on the concrete floor. Maya found a secluded corner behind a fortress of wooden crates and drew her knees to her chest, battling the primal fear of homelessness her criminology professor loved to quantify. She wasn't homeless. She was just cold. There was a difference. A tiny, broken sound pierced the silence. A whimpering kitten, perhaps. Maya froze. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Every true crime podcast screaming an immediate, visceral warning. Don't investigate strange noises in abandoned buildings at night. The sound came again, softer, distinctly human this time. "Hello?" Maya whispered, her voice barely a breath. Silence. 30 seconds stretched into an eternity before she rose. Her phone was dead, a useless chunk of plastic. Using the meager moonlight as her guide, she navigated past debris and shattered pallets. Behind a stack of water-damaged cardboard boxes, she found her, a little girl, no older than 6, curled into a ball so tight she seemed half her size. The child's velvet and lace dress, torn at the sleeve, screamed expense, department store windows. Her shoes were gone. A feverish tremble racked her small body. "Oh my God," Maya breathed, the words catching in her throat. The girl's eyes, wide and terrified, snapped open. She scrambled backward, hitting the wall with a soft thud. "Hey, it's okay," Maya soothed, raising her hands in a gesture of surrender, making herself smaller. "I'm not going to hurt you. I promise." The girl stared, dark eyes glassy, her silence more unnerving than a scream. It was a fear that clawed at Maya's chest. "Are you lost? Where are your parents?" No response. The girl's lips pressed into a thin, determined line. Maya glanced at the cavernous warehouse entrance, then back at the child. Every instinct shrieked that something was terribly wrong. The expensive dress, the missing shoes, the stark animal fear in those young eyes. "I'm Maya," she tried again, her voice gentler. "I'm just a college student, missed my bus, stuck here till morning. You're stuck here too." A hesitant nod. Progress. Maya's mind raced. Call the police? Phone dead. Leave? But what if the person who'd taken the little girl's shoes returned? The thought coiled in her stomach. The girl's teeth began to chatter, her skin unnervingly pale in the silver light. Maya made a decision. She shucked off her denim jacket, her only shield against the biting cold. It was threadbare, its lining torn, barely offering warmth, but it was something. "You're cold," Maya murmured, moving slowly, carefully. The child watched her approach, a wild creature assessing a predator. But when Maya draped the jacket over the girl's slight shoulders, something shifted in those dark eyes. Not trust, not yet, but a flicker of something less like terror. Maya sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. "I'm going to stay right here with you, okay? Until morning. You're not alone." The girl pulled the jacket tighter. Minutes bled into an hour. The cold seeped into Maya's bones, her own body beginning to shiver uncontrollably. She wrapped her arms around herself, humming a forgotten lullaby her grandmother used to sing, something about stars and safe harbors. Slowly, tentatively, the little girl leaned closer. Maya held perfectly still. The child's head came to rest against her shoulder, a small hand gripping Maya's sleeve with surprising strength. "You're safe," Maya whispered, a desperate prayer more than a promise. "I've got you." Eventually, the girl's breathing evened out, her grip slackening. She fell asleep, her head cradled in Maya's lap, Maya's jacket a tiny shield around her. Maya didn't sleep. She sat rigid against the cold wall, running her fingers through the girl's tangled hair, humming every melody she knew. Her own body shook, her teeth chattered, but she didn't move. This little girl, whoever she was, had already lost her shoes. She wouldn't lose her warmth, too. The sky began to lighten around 5:30. Gray light seeped through the broken windows. Every muscle in Maya's body screamed in protest, her fingers numb, but the girl in her lap was breathing, still warm, still alive. That had to count for something. Then came the engine's multiple heavy vehicles, their tires screeching to a halt outside with a synchronized precision that made Maya's stomach plummet. The girl stirred, whimpering. "It's okay," Maya whispered, her own voice trembling beyond control. The warehouse door exploded inward with a bang like a gunshot. Men poured in, 6, 8, maybe 10, all in black, all armed. Maya's blood ran to ice. She wrapped herself tighter around the little girl, shielding her with her body. This was it. This was how she died, protecting a child she didn't know, in an abandoned warehouse, all because she'd missed a bus. "Don't move!" The command, flat and deadly, came from the largest man, his weapon leveled directly at Maya's head. She couldn't have moved if she'd wanted to. Terror had locked her muscles. Another man stepped through the doorway. He was different, not a gun visible, but he didn't need one. Authority radiated from him like heat. His suit, impeccably tailored, likely cost more than Maya's entire college tuition. His dark eyes swept the warehouse with calculated precision before landing, not on Maya, but on the small, trembling girl in her arms. "Alessia," he breathed, the name a raw whisper. The girl lifted her head. "Papa," she murmured so faintly Maya almost missed it. The man's face transformed, relief, rage, and a flash of pain warring across his features. He moved forward and Maya instinctively tightened her hold. "Don't hurt her," Maya said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Please, she's just a child." The man stopped. His eyes met Maya's for the first time, truly met them. He studied her, a complex puzzle he was trying to solve. "I'm not going to hurt her," he said quietly. "She's my daughter." The words hit Maya like a bucket of icy water. She looked down at the little girl, Alessia, who was already scrambling out of her lap, stumbling on unsteady legs toward the man. He caught her, lifting her effortlessly, his hand cupping the back of her head with a startling gentleness that didn't match his armed guards or his expensive suit. "You protected her," he said to Maya. Not a question, a statement of fact. Maya nodded, words failing her. His jaw tightened. He looked at his daughter's bare feet, the torn dress, the way she clung to Maya's jacket. When his eyes returned to Maya, something dangerous flickered in their depths. "What's your name?" "Maya," her voice cracked. "Maya Santos." "Maya Santos," he repeated slowly, as if engraving the name into memory. "You stayed with her all night." "I couldn't leave her alone." A muscle twitched in his jaw. He turned to one of his men. "Get the car ready, and a blanket." Then he looked back at Maya, still shivering on the cold floor in her thin sweater. "You're coming with us." It was not a request. Maya had never sat in a car that cost more than her family's house. The leather seats were heated, classical music played softly from hidden speakers. Outside the tinted windows, the city blurred past streaks of gray and gold as dawn broke over the skyline. Maya sat rigid, hands clasped tightly in her lap, acutely aware that the man beside her could erase her with a single phone call. Adrian Moretti. She'd heard the name whispered during the drive, spoken with the reverence usually reserved for saints or monsters. Alessia sat between them, wrapped in a cashmere blanket, her small hand still clutching Maya's jacket. She hadn't let go. Not when they'd carried her to the car, not when they'd offered her water. The jacket was a lifeline. "Where are you taking me?" Maya finally asked. her voice impossibly loud in the quiet car. Adrian didn't look at her, his attention fixed on his daughter, watching her breathe as if she might vanish. "My home. You need medical attention." "I need to go home. I have class at 9. He finally looked at her. His eyes, the color of dark honey, cut right through her bravado. "You spent 6 hours on a concrete floor in freezing temperatures protecting a child you didn't know. You're hypothermic. You're coming to my home." It was still not a request. Maya swallowed hard. "Is she okay? Alessia?" Something flickered across his face. Surprise. Perhaps. "Papa." The single word, breathed into the hushed confines of the car, ripped through the fragile quiet. Maya's gaze dropped to the small girl nestled against her, drifting between sleep and a restless awareness. "Papa." Adrian Moretti went utterly still beside her, a predator sensing a shift in the wind. "She spoke," Maya whispered, a tremor in her own voice. "Just that one word. Why? What's wrong?" A long, heavy silence stretched, thick with unspoken grief. When Moretti finally spoke, his voice was a raw, gravelly sound. "She hasn't spoken in 4 months, not since her mother died." The words hung in the air, cold as a winter breath. Maya's chest tightened, a vice clamping down. This little girl, with her silk-spun dress, her missing shoes, her profound silence. Suddenly the puzzle pieces slammed into place. The primal fear, the trembling fragility, the desperate, unbidden clawing for Maya's warmth in the squalor of that warehouse. "I'm so sorry," Maya murmured, the apology a reflex. Moretti's jaw clenched, a muscle jumping in his temple. "You have nothing to be sorry for. You saved her life." His eyes, dark as obsidian, fixed on her. What happened? How did she end up in that warehouse? His expression darkened further, a storm gathering behind his carefully controlled facade. "That's not your concern." But Maya saw it, the brutal, simmering rage beneath the polished veneer. Someone had taken his daughter. Someone had abandoned her to the cold, to the dark, to the howling terror. And whoever that someone was, their life had just become a debt Moretti intended to collect. The car glided through towering iron gates, a whisper of gravel under the tires. Maya's breath hitched. Ahead, a sprawling estate materialized from the twilight. Stone walls, manicured gardens, fountains spraying silver in the fading light, and the cold, unblinking eyes of security cameras. It was the kind of opulence featured in magazines with glossy pages and titles like Architectural Digest or Dynasty Digest. "Oh, God," Maya breathed, her voice barely a whisper. You're actually a mafia boss." A ghost of a smile, fleeting as a shadow, touched Moretti's lips. "I prefer businessman." Businessmen don't travel with armed guards. Successful businessmen do. The car pulled to a silent halt before a mansion lifted straight from a European postcard. Attendants, rigid with worry, lined the entrance. The passenger door opened, and a woman in a crisp white medical coat rushed forward. "Dr. Chun," Moretti said, his arms already cradling Alicia with a surprising tenderness. "A full workup. I need to know everything." The doctor nodded, her hands reaching for the child. But as she drew near, Alicia's eyes snapped open, wide with panic. A guttural cry tore from her throat. Her small arm shot out, bypassing her father, bypassing the doctor, snatching desperately for Maya. The word burst from her lips like a dam breaking. "Maya!" Everyone froze. Alicia's gaze, raw and desperate, locked onto Maya. "Don't go! Please, don't go!" Maya's heart fractured. Without a thought, she stepped forward. Alicia's arms, surprisingly strong, wrapped around her neck, clinging with all the force of a child drowning. "I'm here," Maya murmured, her voice thick. "I'm right here." Moretti stared, first at Alicia, then at Maya, as if confronting a mirage. "She said your name." "I told you she—" "No," he cut her off, the whisper a dangerous current. "You don't understand. She hasn't said anyone's name. Not mine. Not her grandmother's. not her therapist, who's been trying for months. His voice dropped, losing none of its intensity. Who are you? Maya met his gaze over Alicia's head. I'm nobody. I'm just a college student who missed her bus. Nobody doesn't exist in my world. His eyes were relentlessly searching. Everyone is someone. Everyone wants something. I want to go home, Maya answered, the truth burning. I want a hot shower and 12 hours of sleep. I want to forget this night ever happened. That's not possible anymore. Fear spiked through her, cold and sharp. Are you threatening me? I'm being realistic. Moretti gestured to his daughter, burrowed against Maya's shoulder. Look at her. Truly look. Maya did. Alicia's breathing had steadied. Her grip, once desperate, was now simply comfortable. A soft, off-key humming vibrated against Maya's chest, the lullaby Maya had sung in the warehouse. She needs you, Moretti said, his voice quiet, raw with a vulnerability Maya hadn't imagined possible. I don't know why, I don't know how, but my daughter just spoke for the first time in 4 months, and it was your name. He paused, the silence heavy as stone. So, I'm going to make you an offer. Maya's stomach twisted. What kind of offer? Stay, care for Alicia, help her heal. I'm not a nanny, Mr. Moretti. I'm not a therapist. I'm a criminology student with a part-time job at a campus bookstore. I'll pay you $50,000 a month. The number hit Maya like a physical blow. $50,000. More than her mother made in a year. Her medical bills, her tuition, her terrifyingly overdue rent, all of it, dissolved in a single, impossible sentence. Why? She managed to ask, the word a rasp. Moretti's expression softened as his gaze fell upon his daughter, now almost asleep on Maya. Because 4 months ago, I lost my wife. I can't lose Alicia, too. And right now, you are the only person she's trusted since her mother died. He met Maya's eyes, the intensity of his plea cutting through his dangerous facade. So, I'm asking, please stay. It was the pleas that undid her. This man with his veiled threats, his armed retinue, his terrifying reputation, he was pleading for his daughter, for the small, broken girl finally sleeping, finally safe, finally warm, against Maya's shoulder. Maya thought of her $63, her eviction notice, her dying phone, her broken shoes. She thought about walking away, forgetting this nightmare. Then Alicia mumbled in her sleep, "Stay, Maya." Maya closed her eyes. 1 month, she heard herself say, the words like a surrender. I'll stay for 1 month. Moretti gave a single, almost imperceptible nod. 1 month. They both knew it was a lie. The room they gave Maya was larger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows unveiled meticulously manicured gardens, a landscape clearly requiring a full-time staff. The bed could swallow 4 people whole. The bathroom boasted heated floors and a shower with more tactile controls than her laptop. Maya stood in the center of it all, still in her grime-stained jeans, fighting a rising wave of panic. A soft knock interrupted her spiral. Helena, the head housekeeper, a woman in her 50s, entered carrying a selection of clothes. Mr. Moretti thought you might need these. The clothes were undeniably expensive, designer labels Maya recognized from the glossy pages of magazines she'd never afford. I can't accept these. They're not a gift. Helena's smile was kind but unyielding. They're practical. Your clothes are being cleaned. You'll get them back tomorrow. Mr. Moretti doesn't expect you to care for his daughter in dirty jeans. She vanished before Maya could argue. 20 minutes later, showered and enveloped in fabric that felt like clouds, Maya ventured downstairs. Guided by a silent staff member, she arrived at a room on the 2nd floor. Alicia's bedroom was a princess fantasy, soft pinks and whites, an army of stuffed animals, a canopy bed draped in sheer silk. Yet it felt wrong, too perfect, like a museum exhibit of what a little girl's room should be, rather than a sanctuary for a grieving child. Dr. Chun was packing her medical bag. Mild fever, dehydration, some bruising on her arms. Nothing serious physically. She lowered her voice, a somber undertone. But emotionally, That child has been through something terrible. The selective mutism, the trauma response. She needs professional help. She's been seeing therapists, Moretti said from the doorway, his entrance silent. Then she needs a different approach, Dr. Chun countered, glancing at Maya. Or she needs whatever this is. Alicia, wrapped in a blanket, sat on her bed, her gaze fixed intently on Maya. I'll stay with her, Maya said. Moretti nodded. I'll be in my office if you need anything. When they were alone, Maya sat on the edge of the princess bed. Hey, Alicia, how are you feeling? The little girl's dark eyes, ancient and serious, simply observed her. I know you don't know me very well, Maya continued gently, but your dad asked me to stay here for a while. Would that be okay with you? Alicia's response was to crawl into Maya's lap. They sat for long minutes, the only sound Maya's soft humming of the warehouse lullaby as she ran her fingers through Alicia's freshly washed hair. She felt the child's small body slowly, incrementally, release its tension. You know what I think? Maya whispered into Alicia's hair. I think you're really brave. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and still holding on. Alicia's small hand gripped Maya's shirt, an anchor. When I was 7, Maya continued softly, my dad left. Just didn't come home one day. And I stopped talking too. For weeks, my mom was so worried. She paused. But then my grandma told me something. She said, our voices are powerful. They're how we tell the world we're still here, and the people who love us, they're waiting to hear us. Alicia pulled back slightly, her gaze searching Maya's face. Your dad, Maya said, her voice a gentle caress. He's waiting. I can see it in his eyes. He misses hearing your voice. Tears welled in Alicia's eyes, her lips trembling. It's okay to be sad, Maya whispered. It's okay to miss your mama. That kind of love doesn't just disappear. Mama used to sing to me, Alicia murmured, the words so soft Maya almost missed them. Her heart stopped. Yeah? What did she sing? A song about stars. Alicia's voice was raw, unused. She said Mama would always be in the stars, watching over me. Maya's eyes burned, but she refused to let the tears fall. Your mama was right. And you know what? I bet she's really proud of you. I got lost, Alicia's voice broke. There were bad men. They took me from my car. They said they'd hurt Papa if I made noise, so I didn't. I stayed quiet. Maya pulled her close, her heart shattering. You did exactly right. You were so smart and so brave. Then they left me in that scary place. It was cold. I thought nobody would find me. But I did find you, Maya said firmly. And now you're safe. Your papa's here. I'm here. Alicia buried her face in Maya's shoulder. Don't leave me, please. Everyone leaves. The utter desperation in those words gutted Maya. This child had lost her mother, been kidnapped, abandoned. Now she was terrified of losing the one person who had shown her kindness in the darkness. I'm not going anywhere, Maya promised, a vow she wasn't sure she could keep. The door opened with barely a whisper. Adrian Moretti stood frozen in the frame. He had heard everything. On his face, Maya saw the grim war between rage and pain. Rage at the unseen predators who had hurt his daughter. Pain for what Alicia had endured. Alicia lifted her head suddenly. Papa. Moretti crossed the room in 3 long strides, dropping to his knees beside the bed. I'm here, baby. I was scared to talk, Alicia whispered. The bad men said, They're gone. Moretti's voice was a rough caress against his daughter's hair. They can't hurt you anymore. I promise. How do you know? His jaw tightened, a hard line. Because I found them first. The chilling meaning behind those words was stark. Maya should have been horrified. Perhaps a part of her was. But looking at this dangerous man, cradling his traumatized daughter, a faint hum of the lullaby escaping Alicia's lips, Maya found she could not judge him. Not here, not now. Alessia reached for Maya with one small hand, her other still clutching Adrienne's. Maya stays. Adrienne's gaze met Maya's over his daughter's head. A silent current passed between them, an understanding, a shared purpose. Maya stays, he echoed, his voice a low rumble. A fragile, almost imperceptible smile touched Maya's lips. Tell me about Mama's song, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. About the stars. And Maya did, her voice hesitant at first, then flowing with a quiet strength. She wove tales of her mother, of melodies woven into starlight, of a love that death itself could not diminish. Adrian listened, silent tears tracking paths down his stoic face. In that moment, Maya understood. She had stumbled into something profound, a broken family desperately trying to mend its fractured soul, held together by the gentle words of a girl who had finally found her voice. Sunlight filtered through silk curtains woke Maya. For a frantic beat, a cold dread seized her, before the lavish room rushed back into focus. The Mafia boss's mansion, her new reality. Her phone, now fully charged, blazed with 23 missed calls from her frantic roommate. A terse text from her bookstore boss flickered. "Where are you? You're fired if you don't show up today." Maya stared at the words, a bitter laugh dying in her throat. Yesterday she'd worried about rent. Today she wore designer silk and was, inexplicably, guardian to a traumatized child. Her life had morphed into a badly written drama. A soft knock. Helena, impeccably composed, entered with a silver tray bearing an elaborate breakfast. Actual silver. "Mr. Moretti requests your presence in his office after you've eaten. Alessia is still sleeping." The office, on the ground floor, was shielded by a door that looked more like a bank vault than an entry, likely costing more than her life's possessions. Maya's knuckles brushed the heavy wood, a hesitant rap. "Come in." Adrian sat behind a desk vast as a landing strip, absorbed in a tablet. In the sharp daylight he seemed human, exhausted. The meticulously tailored suit couldn't hide the deep shadows under his eyes, the telltale signs of a sleepless night. "Sit," he commanded, without looking up. Maya perched on the edge of a leather chair, suddenly a schoolgirl facing the principal. He slid a folder across the polished surface. "I've had my lawyers draft a contract. Employment terms, salary, confidentiality clauses, standard." Her hands trembled as she opened it. The numbers swam before her eyes. $50,000 a month, health insurance, room and board, a chilling clause preventing her from ever speaking to media or law enforcement about anything she might witness. "This is insane," she breathed. Adrian finally met her gaze. "It's business. I'm not qualified for this. I'm not a nanny or a therapist or... You're what Alessia needs." His voice was unexpectedly soft. "That's the only qualification that matters." The paper crackled as her hand shook. This was real. He was serious. "What exactly do you expect me to do?" "Care for her, help her heal, be the person she trusts." He paused, a flicker of something raw in his eyes. "Keep her safe." That last phrase, uttered with sudden grimness, made Maya snap her head up. Safe from what? Adrian's jaw tightened. "My world isn't kind to weakness. Alessia's attachment to you is already known. That makes you both targets. Targets for what? People who want to hurt me by hurting what I love." He said it with the detached calm of someone discussing the weather. "You'll have security round the clock. You won't leave this property without armed guards. You won't contact anyone from your old life without clearance." Maya's stomach plummeted. "You're saying I'm a prisoner." "I'm saying you're protected. That's the same thing, just with better lighting." A ghost of a smile, almost imperceptible, touched Adrian's lips. "You're blunt. I appreciate that. I don't appreciate being told I can't leave." Maya pushed to her feet, anger a welcome surge against the creeping fear. "You can't just keep me here." "I can't." Adrian rose, moving around the desk, a silent, imposing presence. "But Alessia will ask you to stay. Every morning, Every night, she'll look at you with those eyes and beg you not to leave her alone. And you won't be able to say no, because you're not the kind of person who abandons a traumatized child. He was right. Maya hated that he was right. So, what am I? She asked quietly. An employee? A hostage? A guest? You're the person who saved my daughter's life. Adrienne's voice softened, losing its edge. And I'm the father trying to keep her alive. We both want the same thing, Maya. We just disagree on the price. Maya looked down at the contract. $50,000. Her mother's medical bills paid, college loans erased, a future where she didn't have to choose between food and textbooks. All she had to do was dwell in this gilded cage with a little girl who desperately needed her. 1 month, Maya said, meeting his gaze. I'll sign for 1 month, then we renegotiate. Adrienne nodded slowly. 1 month. As Maya scrawled her name, she felt the invisible, comfortable chains settle around her chains forged from money, compassion, and a 6-year-old's unwavering trust. Suddenly the door burst open. A man in a dark suit strode in, barely glancing at Maya. Boss, we have a problem. The Cosante family knows about the girl. Adrienne's entire demeanor shifted. The tired father evaporated, replaced by something cold, dangerous. What do they know? That she talked. That there's a college girl living here. The man's eyes flicked to Maya, a spark of appraisal. They're asking questions. Let them ask. Adrienne's voice was ice. Double security on the east wing. No one gets near Alessia's room without my explicit approval. Maya's heart hammered a frantic rhythm. Who are the Cosantes? Both men looked at her as if they'd forgotten she existed. Rivals, Adrienne said simply. Nothing you need to worry about. You just said I'm a target, and now you're telling me not to worry? Adrienne moved closer, his presence overwhelming. I have 50 men on this property, cameras everywhere, weapons, training, protocols. The Cosantes won't touch you or Alessia. I promise you that. How can you promise that? Because, he stopped, jaw tight, the words catching in his throat. Because I already failed to protect one person I loved. I won't fail again. The raw pain in his voice made Maya's anger falter. This man, this terrifying man, wasn't just dangerous. He was terrified. Not of his enemies, but of losing his daughter. Okay, Maya heard herself say, the word feeling foreign. Okay, I trust you. It was possibly the stupidest thing she'd ever uttered, yet looking into Adrienne's eyes, seeing the desperation beneath the iron control, she meant it. Good. Adrienne stepped back, the walls rebuilding around him. Marcus will show you the security protocols. Learn them. Follow them. Your life depends on it. As Maya left the office, she heard Adrienne's voice drop to a lethal whisper on the phone. Find out everything about the Cosante family's movements, and make sure they understand Alessia is untouchable. She walked back upstairs, past guards she hadn't noticed before, through hallways that felt less like luxury and more like the labyrinth of a fortress. She had signed the contract, accepted the money, promised to stay, but she was beginning to understand the true price wasn't her freedom. It was becoming someone worth killing. 3 weeks settled into a strange rhythm of normalcy and constant veiled threat. Mornings, Maya spent with Alessia reading stories, drawing vibrant, crayon-scarred worlds, coaxing more words from her healing voice. Afternoons found them in the sprawling gardens, under the watchful, casual eyes of guards who blended seamlessly with the landscape, pretending to be gardeners. Evenings were family dinners where Adrienne, though present, was a phantom. His phone rang incessantly, calls he'd take in other rooms, his voice dropping to dangerous undertones. Maya learned the routines, the layered security checks, the ubiquitous cameras, the clipped, coded phrases the guards exchanged through earpieces that sounded mundane, but carried stark meanings of safety or impending danger. She learned Alessia's nightmares came reliably at 2 a.m., that the little girl would only eat food Maya had tasted first, that she was drawing pictures of a warehouse, slowly, painstakingly working through her trauma, one crayon at a time. She also learned that Adrienne Moretti was more than a Mafia boss. He was a father who checked on his daughter 6 times a night, a man who kept his late wife's favorite flowers fresh in every room, someone who had built an empire but would, without hesitation, burn it all down for one small girl's smile. It scared her how easily she'd stopped judging him. "Maya, look." Alessia held up a drawing. 2 vibrant stick figures, one small, one tall, surrounded by a riot of flowers, both smiling. "It's us in the garden." "It's beautiful," Maya said, her throat tightening. Then the lights went out. Complete suffocating darkness. Emergency lights flickered on a heartbeat later, bathing everything in an ominous red glow. "Stay calm," Marcus's voice crackled, distant, distorted, over an unseen speaker system. "Lockdown protocol. Everyone to safe rooms. Now." Maya scooped up Alessia, her heart hammering against her ribs. "It's okay, baby. We're okay." But Alessia was shaking, the memory of the warehouse, of the bad men flooding her young mind. "The bad men, they're here!" "No, no," Maya began, but armed guards burst through the door, weapons raised. "Miss Santos, with me now!" They ran through corridors Maya barely recognized, Alessia clutching her neck, face buried in her shoulder. Guards formed a protective circle around them. Somewhere distant, gunshots cracked like savage fireworks. This was real. This was actually happening. They reached a reinforced door, cleverly disguised as a bookshelf. Marcus shoved them inside. "Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone but me or Mr. Moretti. Understand?" Maya nodded, unable to speak past the cold terror. The door sealed with a hydraulic hiss. She found herself in a small, concrete-walled space lit by emergency lights, equipped with security monitors and enough supplies for days. On the screens, chaos. Men in black tactical gear breached the estate. Adrian's guards fought back, a symphony of gunfire and shouts. And on one screen, Adrian himself. He moved through the mansion with deadly precision, a gun an extension of his hand. He wasn't afraid. He was furious. Alessia whimpered. "Papa's going to die, like Mama." "No," Maya forced steel into her voice. "Your papa is the scariest man those bad guys have ever met. He's going to be fine." On the screens, Adrian dropped 2 intruders with shots so quick Maya barely saw him move. He was protecting his home, his daughter. Her. Minutes stretched into eons. Alessia curled in Maya's lap, soft sobs shaking her small frame. Maya watched the monitors, praying to a god she barely believed in. Then she saw something that froze her blood. One of the intruders had made it past the main defenses. He was moving through the east wing, checking rooms. He was 3 doors away from their panic room. Maya's hands trembled as she shielded Alicia's eyes. "Don't look, baby, don't look." The intruder, a gaunt shadow in expensive dark clothes, had found the bookshelf, his fingers tracing the spines. Smart. Too smart. Maya's gaze darted around, frantic, landing on the emergency button. She slammed it, the impact jarring her to the bone. Somewhere, on a bank of hidden monitors, she knew every guard's earpiece would have flared red. Adriana's head snapped toward a screen in his study, miles away. He saw what she saw. He ran. The bookshelf groaned, then slid aside. A predatory smile stretched across the intruder's face as he found the hidden mechanism. His hand dropped to his weapon just as the secret door began to open. Maya reacted without thought, seizing the heavy fire extinguisher from the wall, positioning herself squarely in front of Alicia. "Stay behind me." The door hissed fully open. The man stepped through, gun raised. Maya swung with everything she had, a primal scream tearing from her throat. The extinguisher crunched against his skull. He staggered, a pained gasp escaping him, but he didn't fall. His gun came up, finger tightening on the trigger, aiming directly for her chest. "You picked the wrong family," he growled, a feral promise in his voice. Time fractured. Maya saw his finger on the trigger, saw Alicia, small and terrified, cowering behind her, saw the end of everything. Then Adrian was there. He moved like violence given human form. One hand blocked the gun, twisting it aside with brutal force. The other struck, a precisely aimed blow that crumpled the intruder to the floor, breathless. Adrian kicked the weapon away, then spun to Maya, his eyes wild, searching. "Are you hurt?" Maya couldn't answer, couldn't breathe past the terror still lodging in her throat. She'd almost died. Alicia had almost. But then Adrienne's hands cupped her face, anchors in the storm. "Look at me. Are you hurt?" "No," she managed, the word thin and reedy. "We're okay. We're—" Alicia launched herself at Adrian, a small, sobbing missile. He caught her, holding her tight, his gaze never leaving Maya's face. "You hit him," Adrian said, his voice a low thrum of disbelief and something else. "You protected her. I didn't think. I just—" Maya's hands were shaking so violently she couldn't control them. I couldn't let him hurt her. Something shifted in Adrienne's expression, respect, understanding, maybe even a flicker of something more profound. Threats contained. Kozlov sent 8 men, all down or captured. Marcus's voice cut through the aftermath, calm and professional, from the doorway. Adriana nodded, still embracing Alicia, still watching Maya. "Get Dr. Chin here, and I want every person involved in planning this attack. Bring them to the warehouse." The warehouse, the very place where this war, their bloody empire, had begun. Maya understood precisely what that meant, what Adrienne would do there. She should have been horrified, but looking at Alicia's tear-streaked face, at how close they'd come to losing everything, she found she couldn't summon even a shred of concern for the men who had tried to kill a child. "You're safe now," Adrian promised, his voice a balm. "I promise this won't happen again." Maya believed him, and that conviction scared her more than the gunshots, because she was starting to realize she wasn't simply protecting Alicia anymore. She was becoming part of this family, this dangerous, deadly, devoutly loyal family, and there was no turning back. Maya found Adrienne on the terrace at midnight, a lone silhouette against the glittering city lights. She'd put Alicia to bed an hour ago, staying until the little girl's breathing had evened out, a testament to the fragile peace she'd found. The attack had rattled them all, but Alicia most of all. She'd regressed, falling silent again for 2 long days before finally whispering Maya's name like a lifeline. "You should be sleeping," Adrian said, his voice low, without turning. He always knew when she was near. "So should you." Maya joined him at the railing, maintaining a careful distance. "It's been 3 days. Have you slept at all?" "Sleep is a luxury I can't afford right now." "But even Mafia bosses need rest." His lips twitched. "Businessman, right? Businessmen who interrogate people in warehouses." Adrienne's expression darkened, the city lights reflecting glints of steel in his eyes. "You don't want to know happened there." "You're right, I don't." Maya paused, the humid night air thick between them. "But I need to understand something. Why do you do this? The empire, the violence, the constant war? Why not walk away?" "You think it's that simple?" "I think you're smarter than everyone gives you credit for. You could disappear. Take Alicia somewhere safe. Start over." Adrian was silent for a long moment, the hum of the city a distant roar. When he finally spoke, his voice was raw, stripped bare. "My father built this empire from nothing, crawled out of poverty through blood and will. He died protecting it. My wife." He stopped, jaw clenched, the memory of physical pain. "Maria never wanted this life. She begged me to leave. I promised her I would. After one more deal, one more consolidation, just a little more security. And then she died. Car accident, or so the police report said." His hands gripped the railing so tightly his knuckles turned white. "But I know better. The Kozlovs have been circling for years. They wanted to send a message." Maya's breath caught in her throat. "You think they killed her?" "I know they did. I just can't prove it." His voice dropped to something lethal, a coiled threat. "But after the attack on my home, now I have grounds for war." So that's what this is about, Maya murmured. Revenge. Adrian turned to face her, his eyes blazing, molten gold in the pale moonlight. This is about making sure Elysia never loses anyone else. Every enemy I eliminate is one less person who can hurt her. Every deal I close is more security for her future. You think I enjoy this? I think you're drowning in it. The words hung between them like a challenge. You don't understand my world, Adrian said coldly. No, I don't, but I understand grief. Maya moved closer, no longer afraid. I understand a parent trying to protect their child so fiercely they forget the child needs them present, not just safe. Elysia doesn't need an empire, Adrian. She needs her father. She has me, does she? Or does she have a ghost who checks on her between phone calls about territory and revenge? Maya's voice softened, a gentle lament. She draws pictures of you. Did you know that? Every single one has you in it, but you're always far away, standing in doorways, behind glass, never close. Adrian flinched as if she'd struck him. After Maria died, he said quietly, his gaze fixed on the endless city below. I couldn't look at Elysia without seeing my failure. Every time she cried, I heard my wife's voice begging me to leave this life. I threw myself into work because it was easier than facing what I'd lost. And then Elysia stopped talking. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of profound weariness. 4 months of silence. For months, the best therapists, specialists, everyone telling me she just needed time. Then you show up, a stranger with a cheap jacket and kind eyes, and she speaks for you. She spoke because I listened, not as someone trying to fix her, but as someone who understood loss. Maya held his gaze, a silent plea in her eyes. You could do the same. She's waiting for you, Adrian. Your daughter is waiting for her father to come back. I don't know how. The admission seemed to cost him everything. This powerful man, this dangerous boss, looked suddenly, utterly lost. Start small, Maya said gently, her voice a balm on his raw vulnerability. Tomorrow morning have breakfast with her. Not a 5-minute appearance between meetings. Actually sit, talk, ask about her drawings. She saw the question in his eyes. What if she asks about Maria? Then you tell her the truth. That you miss her too. That it's okay to be sad together. Maya reached out, hesitating for only a moment, then touched his arm, her palm warm against his skin. Grief doesn't get smaller, Adrian. We just grow bigger around it, but we can't do it alone. Adrian looked down at her hand on his arm. Something vulnerable, fleeting, crossed his face. A shadow quickly gone. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone easier to keep at a distance. His hand covered hers, warm and careful, a stark contrast to his earlier grip on the railing. Someone I didn't... He stopped, the unspoken words hanging in the charged air between them. Maya should step back, should remember he was her employer, a dangerous man from a world she didn't belong in, but she didn't move. Elysia is not the only one healing, Adrian said softly, his thumb tracing across her knuckles. You've been here 3 weeks, and this house feels different, lighter, like we can finally breathe again. That's Elysia finding her voice. It's you. He met her gaze, a profound truth in his eyes. Both of you, you brought life back into these walls. Maya's heart hammered, a frantic drum against her ribs. This was dangerous, more dangerous than the attack, than the guns, than any threat the Kozlovs could make, because she was starting to care, not just about Elysia, but about the broken man behind the Mafia boss reputation. Adrian, I know, he interrupted, releasing her hand and stepping back, creating a sliver of needed space. You're right, we should sleep. Tomorrow, I'll have breakfast with Elysia. Actually be present. Good. As Maya turned to leave, Adrian spoke, his voice quiet, holding her in place. Maya, thank you for saving her, for staying. for reminding me what matters. Maya looked back at him, his silhouette framed by the sprawling, indifferent city. You would have figured it out eventually. No, he said, his voice barely a whisper. I don't think I would have. The detective showed up on a Tuesday, dressed like a delivery driver. Maya was in the garden with Alicia, tracing patterns in the dirt, when Marcus intercepted her at the ornate gate. Miss Santos, you have a visitor. Says it's urgent, personal. Maya's stomach dropped, a cold, leaden weight. Nobody from her old life knew where she was. Adrian had made sure of that. In a private sitting room, Detective Sarah Chun waited. Not related to Dr. Chin, Maya noted with an absurd flicker of internal amusement. Just an unfortunate coincidence. Maya Santos. The detective's smile was professional, arctic cold. You've been difficult to locate. I'm in a private position for Adrienne Moretti. Known criminal, suspected of murder, racketeering, extortion. Detective Chun slid a manila folder across the polished table. It remained unopened. You're smarter than this. I care for his daughter. That's all. That's all? Chun leaned forward, her voice a silken thread of accusation. 3 weeks ago, 8 men attacked this estate. 2 died. The others disappeared. No police report filed, no investigation, just silence. She paused, letting the implication hang heavy in the air. You were there. You're a witness. I was protecting a child, and now you're protecting a criminal. Chun's voice hardened, the silk replaced by steel. We've been building a case against Moretti for 5 years. We're close, but we need someone inside, someone he trusts. Maya's blood turned to ice. You want me to spy on him? I want you to do the right thing. Help us put away a dangerous man. In exchange, we'll protect you. New identity, money, safety. You can go back to your life. My life? Maya laughed, a brittle, bitter sound that echoed in the quiet room. You mean my $63 and an eviction notice? That life? Better than being complicit in murder. The door opened. Marcus stood there, his face as unreadable as ever. Miss Santos, Alicia is asking for you. Detective Chun smiled, a shark's quiet precision. Think about my offer. You have 48 hours before I come back with a warrant, and I assure you, my next visit will be less friendly. Detective Vivian Chin's voice, sharp as broken glass, cut through the plush silence of Adrienne Moretti's office. She placed a crisp business card on the polished mahogany. Call me, before it's too late. The door clicked shut behind her, leaving a chill in the air. Marcus Mahare, Adrian's imposing consigliere, moved to close it, his dark suit blending into the shadows. Mr. Moretti will want to know about this. A faint smile touched Maya Santos's lips as she watched the detective's retreating form. I'm sure he already does. She picked up the card, the edges biting into her palm, then crumpled it. Tell him the detective wasted her time. But Marcus's gaze was troubled, his usual stoicism fractured. With all due respect, Miss Santos, he began, his voice a low rumble. You should consider her offer. This life, it destroys people. Good people. Is that a warning, Marcus? Maya challenged, a knot tightening in her stomach. It's advice from someone who's seen too many innocents caught in the crossfire. His eyes, usually unreadable, held a genuine concern. Mr. Moretti cares about you, and in our world, that makes you a target. Dangerous to him and to yourself. His enemies will use you. The law will use you. Eventually, you'll have to choose which side destroys you. An hour later, Maya found Adrian in his office, the scent of expensive cigar smoke clinging to the air, the crumpled card still a weight in her pocket. His eyes, dark and knowing, met hers. He already knew. Of course he did. I'm not going to spy on you, she stated, preempting the question forming on his lips. Adrian studied her, a flicker of something unreadable in his gaze. I wouldn't blame you if you did, he admitted, his voice rough. The detective's right. I am a target. Being near me puts you at risk. I know what you are, Maya insisted, her voice surprisingly steady. Do you? He rose, circling the vast desk that separated them, his presence filling the opulent room. Because I don't think you understand. The Kozlov family? That was just the beginning. I have enemies who would torture you for information. Allies who would betray me if they sense weakness. And the law. He paused, a chilling finality in his tone. The law wants me in prison, or dead. Preferably both. Stop trying to scare me away, she whispered, her resolve hardening with each of his words. I'm trying to give you an out. His carefully constructed composure cracked, a raw vulnerability exposed. Detective Chin offered you safety, a new life. Take it, Maya. Before what? Before I care too much. Maya closed the distance between them, ignoring the silent alarm bells ringing in her head. Too late, she murmured, her hand reaching for his arm. I already do. She looked into his eyes, her heart laid bare. About Elysia, about you, about this broken family that somehow became mine. Adrian's jaw clenched, a muscle jumping in his cheek. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm choosing to stay, even if it destroys me. They stood inches apart, the air between them thick with unspoken emotion, crackling like electricity. Adrian's hand slowly lifted, hovering near her face, a feather-light touch suspended in the space separating them. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish, he breathed. Can't I be both? A ghost of a smile touched his lips, gone as swiftly as it appeared. Then his phone vibrated, an intrusive buzz. He answered, his expression instantly darkening, the softness vanishing. When? How many? I'm on my way. He hung up, already moving, a whirlwind of decisiveness. I have to go. Business. He paused at the door, then turned back, his gaze intense. Marcus will keep you safe. Don't leave the estate. Don't trust anyone you don't know. And Maya... His voice softened, a promise in the unspoken words. Thank you for choosing us. Then he was gone, the heavy door closing with a soft thud. Maya stood alone in the vast office, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm. She'd just chosen a Mafia boss over the law, over safety, over everything rational. She'd chosen love. The realization hit her with the force of a freight train. She was falling in love with Adrian Moretti, with his broken edges and fierce devotion, with the way he looked at his daughter, like Elysia was the only good thing he'd ever created, with his desperate attempts to be better than the monster everyone expected. Maya, Elysia's voice, bright and full of innocent joy, drifted down from upstairs. Come see, Papa ate breakfast with me today. He stayed the whole time. Maya wiped a tear from the corner of her eye, a smile blooming on her face despite the fresh ache in her chest. She headed upstairs towards the light. Later that night, Marcus found her reading to Elysia in the soft glow of the bedside lamp. Miss Santos, a moment. His voice was grave, drawing her into the hallway. There's something you should know. His eyes, usually unreadable, were deep pools of concern. The warehouse where Mr. Moretti interrogated the Kozlov men. Detective Chin has a warrant to search it tomorrow morning. Maya's breath hitched. If she finds evidence, he'll go to prison. Yes. Marcus's voice dropped to a near whisper. And Elysia will be placed in state custody, foster care. Maya's world tilted, the polished hallway spinning. Why are you telling me this, Marcus? Because you still have Detective Chin's card. He met her desperate gaze with his own steady one. You could call her, tell her you'll cooperate in exchange for custody of Elysia. She'd agree to that deal. You could save the child, even if you can't save the father. That would be betraying Adrian. That would be saving an innocent little girl from a system that will break her worse than any trauma already has. Marcus held her gaze, unwavering. I've been loyal to Mr. Moretti for 15 years, but even I know sometimes love means making impossible choices. He turned, leaving her in the silent hallway, torn between loyalty and love, between a man and his daughter, between choices that all led to someone getting hurt. She looked through the doorway at Alicia, finally sleeping peacefully, a small smile on her face. Then, her hand went to her pocket, feeling the crumpled card. 48 hours, Detective Chin had said. Maya had never felt more trapped. Maya made her decision at dawn. She found Adrian in Alicia's room, a silent sentinel watching his daughter sleep. He looked exhausted, still in yesterday's clothes, a raw cut on his jaw he hadn't bothered to clean. "The warehouse," Maya said quietly, her voice barely a whisper in the hushed room. "They're going to find evidence, aren't they?" Adrian didn't turn, his gaze fixed on Alicia's gentle breathing. "Yes. And you'll go to prison. Probably." The words were bitter on her tongue. What happens to Alicia now? He finally looked at her, and Maya saw everything in his eyes. The fear, the resignation, the desperate love of a father who'd run out of options. "Foster care," he rasped. "Unless—" He trailed off. "Unless what?" "Unless someone with no criminal record, someone she trusts, petitions for emergency custody." His voice was carefully neutral, but the desperation threaded beneath was unmistakable. Detective Chin would support that petition, especially if that someone cooperated with the investigation. Maya's breath caught in her throat. "You want me to betray you?" "I want you to save my daughter." Adrian moved closer, his voice low and urgent. "I've done terrible things, Maya. I deserve prison, probably worse. But Alicia, she deserves a life free from this world, a life with someone who actually sees her, not as a pawn or a weakness, but as a child who needs love." He reached for her, his touch light on her arm. "Adrian, I'm giving you permission. Call Detective Chin, make the deal, get custody of Alicia, let me go." Tears burned Maya's eyes. There has to be another way. "There isn't." He lifted his hand, finally touching her face, his thumb brushing away a burgeoning tear. "You changed everything, Maya. You gave my daughter her voice back. You reminded me what I was fighting for. And you made me realize the best thing I can do for Alicia is remove myself from her life. She needs her father. She needs safety, stability, a future." His thumb brushed away another tear. "Things I can never give her. But you can." Maya grabbed his wrist, her grip fierce. "What if I refuse? What if I don't call Chin?" "Then I disappear. Tonight, we take Alicia somewhere they'll never find us. Spend the rest of our lives running." His expression hardened, cold and resolute. "And she grows up scared, isolated, always looking over her shoulder. I won't do that to her. So you're choosing prison." "I'm choosing her future over mine. That's what parents do." Maya looked at this man who'd terrified her 6 weeks ago, this dangerous, broken man who'd learned to love his daughter more than his empire, who was willing to sacrifice everything for a child's chance at normalcy. Slowly, she pulled the crumpled card from her pocket. "If I do this, I have conditions." Hope flickered in Adrian's eyes, bright and fragile. "Anything? Alicia visits you every week, letters, calls, whatever. You don't disappear from her life." "Maya, no." "You think leaving her completely will save her, but it won't. It'll destroy her. She needs to know her father chose her, not that he abandoned her." Maya's voice shook, but her resolve was iron. "She's already lost her mother. She's not losing you too." Adrian pulled her into his arms, holding her tight, his strength a trembling shield. "How did I get so lucky to have you crash into our lives?" Maya laughed through her tears, a fragile, broken sound. "I missed a bus." She looked up at him, her heart aching with a bittersweet joy. "Best worst night of my life." They stood together as the sun rose, holding on to a moment that couldn't last. 6 months later, Maya pushed Alicia on the swings in a public park near their apartment. Their home was a modest place, nothing like the mansion, but it was filled with Alicia's vibrant drawings, her infectious laughter, and the undeniable pulse of life. "Higher, Maya! Higher!" Alicia shrieked, her voice pure and bright, everything Maya had fought for. "Any higher, and you'll fly away!" Maya laughed, her heart swelling. Adrian had taken a plea deal, 15 years, eligible for parole in 8. He'd dismantled the violent parts of his empire, turned evidence on the Kozlovs, and cooperated fully in exchange for a minimal sentence and regular visitation rights with Alicia. The first visit had been hard. Alicia had cried, not understanding why Papa had to stay in that place with the guards and the walls. But Adrian had knelt, taking her small hands, and explained, "I made mistakes, baby. Big ones. And now I have to make them right. But I'll always be your Papa, and I'll always love you. No walls can change that." Now they visited every Sunday. Alicia drew him pictures, told him about school, about her new friend Emma, about the library Maya took her to every week, and Adrian listened like she was describing the secrets of the universe. He was healing too. Maya saw it in his letters, in the way he talked about therapy, about taking college classes, about planning a future beyond violence. "Maya!" Alicia jumped off the swing, a whirlwind of energy. "Do you think Papa's proud of me?" Maya knelt down, brushing a escaped strand of hair from Alicia's face. "I know he is. You're the bravest, smartest, most amazing kid in the world. Do you think he's proud of you?" The question, simple and direct, surprised her. "Why would he be proud of me?" "Because you saved us. Both of us." Alicia hugged her tight. "You're my hero, Maya, and Papa's too," he told me. Maya blinked back tears. 6 months ago she was a broke college student who'd missed a bus. Now she was a mother to a beautiful little girl. A reason for a broken man to become better. A bridge between a father and daughter that prison walls couldn't break. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. "Thank you for the photos. She looks happy. You both do. I love you both so much." Maya typed back, a smile playing on her lips. "We love you too. See you Sunday. Alicia wants to show you her science project." "I can't wait. You changed my life, Maya Santos." Maya smiled, watching Alicia chase butterflies in the warm afternoon sun. "No," she thought. "We changed each other's lives, and sometimes that's how the best families are made. Not through blood or circumstance, but through sacrifice, love, and a cold night on a warehouse floor when a stranger chose kindness over safety." The rain had already begun to slick the pavement when Maya realized her bus was gone. A low sigh escaped her lips, the kind that held more resignation than frustration, as she pulled her jacket tighter against the sudden chill of the evening. The city lights, usually a comforting glow, seemed distant and blurred through the gathering moisture. There was no going back, only forward, and so she started the long walk home, the rhythmic patter of raindrops becoming her reluctant companion.